space, it's all that's left of you. Backdoor things stormed out in a mood. Curtain call shows that you won't leave soon. Just gotta get your head in the right place. Alone, so you fake it. Come back, but you're not changing. I thought we wanted the same thing. I'm so tired of running, and all the hearts you're running. Another smile and apology. We all fake love the same way. Tell me what you really mean. I thought we wanted the same thing. Another lie to keep the peace. We all fake love the same way. A beating heart lies beneath your floor. Buried deep, the truth that you want more. I'll let you stay cause I'm lonely. Speaking soft, you say hold me. I fall for it every time. You always hear the same damn lines. We all fake love the same. Pretend to numb the pain. I'm so tired of running, and all the hearts you're running. Another smile and apology. We all fake love the same way. Tell me what you really mean. I thought we wanted the same thing. Another lie to keep the peace. We all fake love the same way. Another smile and apology. We all fake love the same.
Oh, hello, everybody, and welcome to another Post-Mortem. Wolves 1, Manchester City 2. Sorry there was no watch-along today. I was at a wedding over the weekend, so there was no stream on Friday or Saturday, and obviously there was no watch-along, as I say. But we're here now. We're here now to do the Post-Mortem. And it's going to be a lovely time had by all. As you're coming into the stream, please make sure to leave a like on the video. I've got, as you know, I like to add stuff to my background where it's unnecessary. I've now got another blue moon. Look at that. Yeah? Look at that. We've got the blue moon. I've now got, oh my goodness me, I've turned the blue moon green, and I've no idea how I've done that. That remote apparently controls that moon as well. Okay. Goodness me, lads. Let's get all this fucking neon on, yeah? Look at all this. Look at all this neon. Why isn't my moon turning back to blue, guys? Right, we're just going to have a green moon, I guess. We'll have a green moon. Why not? It's not really what I was after, but it's absolutely fine. And I've also got a banana. Because, you know, City fans, bananas, inflatable. It's a thing. I've got that there. You know, vibes. Anyway, yes, guys. Yes, so as I say, I was at a wedding for Scarn, so I was not able to do a watch-along today, but I'm here now, as I mentioned. We're going to talk about the game. We're going to talk about, you know, the classic things that we talk about in these shows, what worked and what did not work. Oh, I've made it blue. Unreal scenes. There we go. There's a lot of blue going on in the room, as you can see. It's a city studio, in fairness. Yeah, what worked, what didn't work. Why Pep's making really weird decisions, in my opinion. And in the manner of how we won the game, and indeed how we conceded chances throughout the game, is that a telltale sign of how we should be setting City up going forwards? We all know City's midfield issues. Was there a sign today that maybe there could be a resolution there in terms of what happened towards the end? That's what we are going to be discussing today, chaps and chapettes. I think the first things first, obviously I'm happy with the concept of winning the game. Like, you know, I'm not silly. It's 3 points in a time where we desperately needed the 3 points when Arsenal dropped 3 of them. So, and obviously Liverpool are still in the lead, so it was a must-win game. It was also a game last season where we lost, of course. So in terms of comparing it to last season, you could say it's a net positive of 3 points, which is always nice. But let's get into let's talk about, shall we, sort of like what Wolves were able to capitalise against, first of all, and then we'll talk about the weird setup of City, and then we could talk about what ultimately did work in the end, and maybe what we could do going forwards, and again, what was alluded to towards the end of that game. So Wolves we all know what Wolves are, there's no surprise. They're a physical, transition dominant team, or rather a transition emphasis team. They were always going to counterattack against us today. That was always going to be the thing. We all knew that. that was the reality of the situation, whether we liked it or not. And I don't like it, but that is what's going on. It still confuses me. This is something that we've discussed on these shows for a number of weeks now, certainly since Rodri got himself injured. We've spoken about the necessity for you need your most defending defenders in the back line until we remember how to keep clean sheets, because that's just not something that we've been able to do consistently this season. I still think that the opening game against Chelsea might be our only time we got a clean sheet in the league. Someone can correct me on that if I'm wrong. And as much as I love Rico Lewis, and it's not fair, but these sorts of games, I don't really know why he's included in the team, to be honest. I'm not saying that he was totally to blame for that first Wolves goal, but I think that you can put a fair bit of blame at his door, and I just feel like it just should be like a Kanji in that right back slot. Very happy with Stones starting. It's very important for him to get his fitness up. But again, I just feel like, I know lots of people don't like the idea of going back to 4 centre-backs, but I just feel like we sort of need to be locking that in right now, especially when, as we've discussed, we are defensively frail. So surely it makes the most sense to try to get our most defending defenders in the back line. As I say, maybe that prevents some of those issues. Another issue, and again, this isn't new information, but the amount of times that Wolves are just able to bypass basically the entirety of our midfield. If you look at the recovery work and the recovery pace of our midfielders, and it's Kovacic and it's Gundogan, and it's stark how easy it is for teams to just get out of our counter press in particular. We're just not particularly good at winning duels, or rather, those midfielders all together aren't particularly good in terms of winning duels and winning second balls. And we've touched on the lack of physicality there, so we're lacking duel winners there, we're lacking second ball winners, we're lacking physicality, and against a transition-based team like Wolves, who are only going to do that, that is a recipe for disaster. So it just compounds that transitional weakness that we have, because as we discussed, Gundogan can't do it and Kovacic can't do it, and seemingly no one in the team that Pep is starting can do it. There was one moment where it did work in the game, and again, we'll get onto that later. So that's always going to be a weakness until we dip into the market in January, and hopefully we do, because if we don't, then I do not know that there is seemingly no, outside of a player starting who probably isn't going to start there, it's very, very tricky to foresee an in-house solution because of the lack of faith in a certain player. So that's defensively, but also offensively today. And again, I know we won today, so I don't want to be too down about it. But what did we... I think someone said here, yeah, today 0 big chances created. Yes, individual brilliance saved us today. And it's wonderful that we have a player like Gvardiol who can, out of nowhere, with his weak foot, just twat one into the top corner. You know, that's very nice to have for your left back, who's really a centre back, to be able to do that with his weak foot. That's very, very lovely and nice. Of course it is. And we'll get on to the really good performances later, because we don't want this to be just a down stream. Of course, we did win the game, so we will applaud the players later on. But that's not really... And maybe this is a silly thing to say because Gvardiol keeps doing it, but generally speaking, you can't bottle that. That's not really it's very hard to sort of replicate that week by week. Do you know what I mean? It's not really a sort of a consistent pattern of play where you can just be like, okay, and you go there and you go there, and we can do that every single week, and we're going to create chances from that. That's when you're having to take shots from outside the box. That's, unless it's by design, and sometimes it is by design, you know, because when City pin the opposition back, and then that gives space for, you know, the likes of Foden, De Bruyne, Gvardiol, etc. Sometimes it can work like that, like against at the Bernabeu last season, and it's fine. But in general, it's not really what you want to be doing for your go-to strategy, especially against Wolves, who have not even won a game so far this season. I know they've had a very, very, very tricky schedule, but it is Wolves. At the end of the day, no disrespect. I mean, I think Chelsea scored 6 against them, didn't they? I know they played in a very different way, but still, the point stands to an extent. So you can't. It's very hard to bottle that sequence. Just trusting your defender to put it top bins with a weak foot. It's very, very tricky. What else did we realistically create? It was very, very slim pickings. I think that Bernardo Sarr did a couple good saves. So that's because our players, out of nothing really, were able to make something. I think Gundogan miscontrolled it and it turned into a really good pass for Bernardo, who forced a decent save from Sarr. I think Savio towards the end of that first half forced a decent save again. There were a couple balls across the box by either Savio or Doku where maybe a player could get onto it, but it was very, very slim pickings in that respect. I can't think of many clear-cut chances. I think the best ones that were created were probably by Savio. Again, that was from out wide. There was basically nothing going on creatively from a central perspective. And that's no surprise, because I looked at that midfield and I was very confused. It was very similar to the midfield that we selected against Newcastle, with Gundogan as the, tasked with maybe being the chief playmaker, and then Kovacic, Bernardo a little bit deeper. So again, Gundogan the 10 or whatever we want to say, and it's just not really working. I don't really know why Gundogan keeps getting used in that role. I don't. When we brought him in, that wasn't what I wanted to bring him in for, personally. So I don't get it, to be honest. When he came in, I was like, right, that's going to be the Rodri alternative. I didn't think that he'd be the playmaking alternative, higher up the pitch. Lots of people have been having a go at Gundogan, and I agree his performances haven't been good, but I still maintain that he's got to be played in a deeper position. Do you get what I mean? Big up to LB. Thank you so much. Yeah, big up, LB. That's my boy. We're hopefully going to do an LBins tomorrow, chaps. We'll just need to liaise on timings, but I have texted LB, so hopefully we can do something. There'll be a shout out, as always, to my LBins brother. So that was the wings. First half, I'm sure everyone noticed it. They swapped round. Now, so obviously, with Pep's selection today, it was like the reverse of the Fulham game in a way. So against Fulham, he played Grealish Bernardo, didn't he? And then centrally, it was Foden. So there was a clear emphasis there on having more, or attempting to have more creativity centrally and more reserved players out wide. And it worked to an extent because, Foden that day was our most creative player objectively, so I guess it technically worked. But we all know what my thoughts were on that game. And then this game, it was almost the opposite. It was like we were sacrificing any form of midfield creativity to purely rely on the wide players. And I still haven't really quite figured out why we are totally sacrificing one to allow the other. I think that it's a really negative way to look at things. I think there certainly is room to have some creativity centrally and out wide. We saw against Fulham that having an overly conservative wing pairing, it doesn't always work out because sometimes players aren't going to have 100% pass accuracy every single game. And then you give it away out wide. And then we also what happened against Fulham, where at that moment where Grealish gave it away and then the counter-attacking. So it seems to me that there's weaknesses however way you cut it. So I would like to see what I would like to see is Grealish starting out wide on the left and then Savio as well and then Foden centrally. But I don't think we've seen that once this season yet, have we? So that's a little bit of a concern. But that's what he went for. That's what Pep went for. Second half, as I say, he swapped sides with the obvious thing being, let's just cross the ball in and see what happens. And Savio did well. I think, in fairness there, Savio did well. I think he was probably our most creative player in that respect. But it was still a little bit lackluster. We're obviously chasing the winner, and it wasn't ideal. But we looked so much better. When Grealish and Foden came on. I thought Grealish looked really sharp when he came on. I still think that he should be starting these sorts of games. You guys know I really like Doku, but I still think that in these tricky games, i.e., against low blocks, or teams who are going to counter on us, especially in the form Grealish is in, I think that Grealish should probably play on that left side and then Savio on the right. I think that because then you've got a more reserved winger on one end and a less reserved winger on the other, even though Savio is still very good at ball retention, you can then get away with having a more creative midfielder compared to, Gundogan, Bernardo, and Kovacic in Phil Foden. And Zimmer frame midfield stays, says Taffy Dave. Yeah, absolutely. And genuinely, when Nunes came on, guys, this is what we were foreshadowing at the start of the show, is there actually a genuine world in which Pep now trusts Nunes? This is not something that you and I are new to, dear viewers. We've discussed this many times. We've said that the solution to City's lack of physicality in midfield, the solution to the lack of legs, the solution to having no transition runners and no players with recovery pace in that centre is to start Nunes. In terms of an in-house solution, if we're persisting with this 3-1-6, the solution is you must start Nunes. We all know that. But he hasn't trusted him. I thought that if ever there was a time to do it, it would be start him against Fulham. That didn't happen. So it's almost like the world is that Nunes is never going to get the chance. But he came on, and I put a video up on Twitter. So if you guys want to go see the specific clip, but and Foden does very well in this clip as well, by the way. That's something we also need to touch on. Wolves are in. And if it's like our old midfield, then they probably have a shot at goal and maybe even score a goal. Because earlier in the game, similar things happened. I have no idea how Wolves didn't score more than one, by the way. Shout out Ederson stopping that 1v1 against Semedo. But too many times, Kovacic, Gundo getting done on the counter-attack. Because they don't have that recovery pace, as we all know, lack of mobility there. But Nunes, that is his bread and butter. It was a fantastic challenge on the Wolves player to take it away from him in a moment where City were truly under the cosh. And there was another moment earlier where Foden, I know that Foden came on, it originally started out wide, then moved to the centre. But when he was out wide, even Foden, if we're talking about players with recovery pace, Foden's got a heck of a lot more to him than a Gundogan or a Kovacic, and Foden with his recovery pace stopped a counter-attack. Nunes in this situation not only stopped the counter-attack, but started a City counter-attack. So I thought that was genuinely shout out to Nunes there, because we may have conceded the goal had he not done that. And then that sequence where Nunes wins the ball back and then plays it forwards, Foden plays in, I think the only ball of the game, ball through to Hall in the entire game is that one played by Foden over the top. And then Nunes has a shot which leads to the corner. And then we're stuck in their territory and we go with corner after corner after corner and it leads to the goal. So Nunes is the reason why we're able to win the game today. And Lords have said Nunes won us the game. So technically that sequence where he won the ball back and then his shot was deflected, that did lead to corner City. So thank you very much to Nunes for that. And again, has that, guys, do you think... Well, two questions to the viewers. One, do you think in your mind that has now made it that Nunes should... Who do we play next, actually? In the Premier League? I think we play Champions League. I think we play a Champions League game next, don't we? Foden can't create. Got the assist. That's crazy. Who do we play next? It is... Okay, it's Southampton at home, right? It is Southampton at home. Let's say as well that for argument's sake, he starts against Sparta Prague and plays good, right? Do you guys think that he starts, or would you start him at home against Southampton? Question number one. Question number two, do you think that Pep would then start him? So two questions to you guys. Would you start Nunes against Southampton? It's sort of like, because I feel like that's a perfect game to almost like prove himself. I'm not having to go at Southampton, but they're probably going to get relegated. We're at home. It surely seems to be a perfect game to almost like ease him into that as a concept. And Austin says he deserves a chance. I think I'm leaning more towards that, because certainly in-house he fits the mold of the only true solution in that respect. If it goes to Jan, winter transfer window, then maybe it can get resolved externally. In respect of internally, he seems, as a midfield option, he's our only option in that respect. So you guys all seem to think that you would do that. Let me know if you think Pep would do that, though. I'm leaning towards just give him a chance at this stage, because as I said after the Newcastle game, our midfield for agility is actually worse than I thought. It seems that we need to try to get him introduced and up to speed or whatever as soon as possible. And again, maybe that can get addressed externally, but for the next couple months, we don't have that luxury. So let me know what you guys reckon. Let me go, you guys reckon. Nunes is better than Kova, says Pranav. I think for me, it would, you'd still have one of Kovacic or Gundogan on the pitch because you need one of them to be the deepest midfield. Like, I don't think you don't introduce Nunes to be that player because you can't do that. So you'd still have one of Kovacic or Gundo in that deeper Rodri position, and then Nunes would be one of the players ahead. Phone had that one long ball to haul. Exactly, Matty. Exactly. Hello, Bree. Where's something got phone going behind the scenes? I don't actually know why either, Bree. We discussed it earlier. The theory is he was happy to go with risks out wide rather than centrally. I think that's a mistake, though. But that's all I can really think of. That's all I can really think of. Because once again, we all saw it when Grealish and Foden came on, and also Nunes, in fairness. We looked a lot better. We did look a lot better. A lot better. Yeah, Lord says Nunes wins the game. Yeah, yes, you guys said Southampton. Who would you start Nunes over? So if we're talking about this game, for example, I don't think you need a midfield three of Gundogan, Bernardo, Kovacic. I think that is overkill in respect of caution. So you need at least one of Kovacic and Gundogan. So let's take this game, for example. I would have started Foden, but let's say that I can't do that, then I'd probably get rid of... Well, I want Gundogan to play deeper. So I would like to see Gundogan played deeper, and then Nunes probably instead of Kovacic, personally. And then Foden instead of Bernardo. That would be what I would love to see that against Southampton. Have Gundogan as the 6, Nunes as the space eater, Foden as the main creator in the centre, because I don't think De Bruyne is going to be available, is he? I think Tone said on Twitter, not 100% on that, he might be available. But if he's not, then I think that's what I would go for personally. That's probably what I would go for. Start him to get some rhythm. I totally agree. And that's the thing. And if he struggles against Sparta Prague at home, and if he struggles against Southampton at home, then the question becomes... or rather we get the answer to our question. And the answer is that if you can't perform against these two teams at home, then it's never going to work. In which case, it's a failed experiment, and we need to just try to survive until January. So I agree with that, yes. Jack says, you can put any combination of any player in the squad in midfield against Southampton. Yeah, that's fairs. Matty doesn't think Pep would do it. Douglas says he would do it, but Pep probably wouldn't. Yeah, guys, if you have just joined us, please make sure to leave a like on the video. Even if you haven't just joined us, please make sure to leave a like on the video, because it is free, and it does really, really help out me, and it helps out the channel, and it's very, very lovely. Leave a like for the inflatable banana. Leave a like for the inflatable banana and the blue moon. Yeah, that's what that is. I know there's so much blue going on here. I've got a new thing. I always add to the background. I think I'm actually done in terms of the background now. I can't really think of what else needs adding, to be honest. I know what's going there. It's going there. When we get to 100,000 YouTube subscribers, and that is a when, the plaque's going there. There. I'm confident we can do that, guys. Grealish must start. Savvy needs an underlapping player to play as a left winger. I totally agree, especially in the form he's in. Jack must be starting, and I really like Savio out on that right side. I understand that he's got a good cross on that left, but I think he's so much more on that right, and I really do rate Savio very, very, very highly. I trust Nunes, but then he's not had a run in the team to prove himself. Why not try Nunes now? First quarter of the season with little risk. That's what I was saying, Chris. Next two games are relatively risk-free. Relatively. Again, no disrespect to Sparta Prague and Southampton at home, but it's those... And I'd say even the game after. I would say start him at Spurs. Because it's the League Cup. And no offence, it's the League Cup. So that's what I would do. I'd give him 3 games to start. Unless he, shits to bed against Southampton. But you see what I mean? If it's good against Sparta, if it's good against Southampton... Throw him in at Spurs. It's the League Cup. We're probably going to get knocked out. Pep clearly doesn't care about the competition. Do that. Do that. That's what I'd like to see. Can't imagine a team without Bernardo. It's tricky, but everyone knows my thoughts on Bernard. I do love him. If he is going to play, it should be centrally, but we do have to consider what does this team need right now, and it's what we were saying earlier with Rico Lewis. It's not his fault, but I wouldn't start him at right back for the next few games until we get locked in RE defense. You get me? That's what I would think. That's what I would do, rather. So that's the Nunes situation and the midfield situation. Have we seen something there, as I say, in terms of Nunes providing that balance? If you have one of, I don't really care who it is, but obviously one of Gundo or Kova needs to play, I would probably say Gundo, but that's absolutely fine. I'd have him deeper, obviously. We haven't seen him deeper yet, apart from against Bratislava in the Champions League. Every other game has been more advanced. I'd have Gundogan as my more metronomic player. I'd have Nunes as my physicality, second ball winning, transitional, space eating, recovery pace midfielder. And then I'd have, especially if De Bruyne is out for however long, I'd have Foden as the 10. And then my wing pairing, my preferred one is Grealish and Savio. Obviously, it can depend on the game for sure. But I think that as a midfield is really, really nice because you got basically all the attributes of Rodri in that midfield. You've got the metronomic quality in Gundogan. You've got the dual winning in terms of Nunes. You've got the long shot threat in respect of Foden. You've got the box crashing even in respect of Gundogan and Foden, in fairness. You've got, I think Gundogan in that deeper role can have really nice switches of play as well. So there is a nice way that you can try to rebuild the attributes of Rodri in that midfield situation. So that could definitely be a lovely, lovely thing. And you could even add to that midfield a progressing defender, like a John Stones, for example, just to add a bit more physicality and steel into that midfield. Alternatively, you could have a slightly deeper Nunes alongside Gundogan, and then you've got the room for two more advanced midfielders like a De Bruyne and a Foden, for example. That could definitely work. And in that situation, you'd have license for Gvardiol to push up more to that left side, and we know how wonderful he is when he does that. So if Nunes works, there are so many avenues open up. This is why it's really, really important, in my view, that he is given a chance. And I didn't think I'd be... I said at the start of the season, I don't know where he fits in here, but I also didn't picture and envisage a Rodri ACL and our whole midfield just having no legs, seemingly. So things can change very, very, very quickly in football. Pep has to be fair, absolutely. If he performs and plays well, I know he only played, how long did he play for today? I know it was only a short period of time. How long? I know it was only 10 minutes, including added time, because he came on in the 86th minute, so 5 minutes added time, like 10 minutes. But he was good in those 10 minutes, so I don't know, give him a chance. You get me? Give him a chance. No, Ibrahim, yes, and we did that at the start, absolutely. I think you can maybe ask question marks of three defenders. I think you can ask questions of Diaz and Stones, but for me, my main one is I am looking at Rico there because he's got a long time to see the run happening and the attack is happening in front of him. And for me, he just doesn't get back quickly enough. And I don't think that's just a case of, well, he's a small baby. I just don't think he reacts quickly enough. So I am with you, and I probably would start Akanji at right back for a little bit of time. Nunes, a leggy space eater who is great two-way transitions. He's not showing it in a period when we're struggling to defend. Oh, sorry, he's now showing. I was going to say he's not showing it. What? No, I totally agree. Facts checker, totally agree. I totally agree with that. What Bernardo provide that he's so undroppable? What do you guys think? I'm going to throw that question back to the chat. What is it that we think that Bernardo offers? So, we all know what Bernardo offers, but specifically, what is Pep looking at? So why is Pep looking at a player like Bernardo and going, you must play? Because the substitute, I think this is a really good segue into the subs. The substitutions really, really perplexed me today. And I know we won, so who cares, right? But I'm still a bit confused. It was similar to the Newcastle, or was it the Fulham game? Or maybe it was both. I thought it was the correct decision to take Doku off, for example. I don't think Doku was particularly... I think he struggled in a lot of moments today. I think in some moments he did very well. But in general, I think that it wasn't his best game, was it? So I thought it was fine to take Doku off. What I thought should have happened, though, was really take Doku off for Grealish, move Savio over to the right. But that's not what happened, was it? Unless I'm mistaken, Gundogan and Bernardo lasted the entirety of the game, which really, really surprised me. Foden came on, and I was like, okay, we're going to have some central creativity now, or central through balls to Haaland, or whatever, and he shunted them out to the right early on. I know that, like, 5-10 minutes later, he moved him to the centre. I thought that was a very odd situation as well. So it ended up being we had Grealish and Bernardo as our wide players. So we went back to cautious wingers at a point in the game where we really had to score. I just thought that was a little bit odd, personally. I would have liked to have seen Savio stay on. I thought he was actually playing really well. But Bernardo stayed on. So that is the reality. I think that if Bernardo plays, it should be centrally, absolutely. But if it's a question of Bernardo over Foden, I think that's a big, big error. He does offer control. He offers solidity. He offers tenacious work rate, of course. But, and I think that definitely works, but for me, we can't have him in the team at the expense of someone who I think can actually create centrally. That's those are my thoughts on that. Nunes was good cover for Gundo, especially if Gundo slips up. Nunes is fast enough. He is very fast, isn't he? Foden, Kova, Bernardo is the best midfield, says MLK. It could work, but that would, again, we'd still have that issue of the lack of recovery pace, but maybe we're just sacking that off, potentially. Gundogan was the one who lost the ball. That's right, Lord, isn't it? Yes. So that's the thing as well. And it was a similar thing with Fulham, where Grealish lost the ball. And it's a play you don't associate with losing the ball, but you can't expect players to get every single pass right. They will sometimes lose it. So you can't have supreme control over a game. It's just not realistic. I think there's got to be an understanding that we lean into a bit more of a risk strategy, a risky strategy, not going overboard, but just not totally committing to we only retain the ball and we don't do anything else. I think that's counterproductive and it doesn't work. It doesn't totally mitigate everything and it just compounds it ultimately. Staffy says, love Bernardo, but feel he's having less of an influence. I think Pep's worn him out. Bernardo dropping poor performances, says Dalmar. Could we not play Grealish as our transitional central midfielder? I just don't know if now was the time to experiment with him in the midfield. It'd be interesting, though. I think Grealish maybe in a deeper role could be fun, to be honest. But it would be very out there. It would be very from left field, wouldn't it? It'd be very unusual. It'd be very unusual. We should have never signed Gunnar, says PB. So I don't agree. He just needs to be used better, IMO. Again, he just needs to be used deeper. Just use him deeper, and I think it'll work. I think it'll work. I thought same. Yeah, that's why I was very confused at the change. Very confusing. Foden must be happy with Pep's football latest. If I was Foden, I'd just be confused at this point. I just don't know why he didn't start. Again, City always look better in my view when he's on the pitch. So I just don't really understand it, and as it was the case today. Oh, excuse me. I've had a Chinese, so the sodium in my body right now, excuse me, it's off the charts. It's off the scales, yeah? It's off the scale. Yeah, Chi, we've been speaking about that, absolutely. 22 times is far from supreme control. That's what I mean, though, Ivana. That's what I mean. The idea is to have supreme control, but you're never going to have that. So it means that when you inevitably lose it, because you can't always keep the ball forever, it just compounds the issue. So I totally agree, Ivana. I totally agree. Nunes getting booed was weird. They booed him last season as well. Now, I believe it's because he refused to play when he forced the move. So it's like, fine, but at the same time, you got a lot of money for him, and letting me have his dream move. I don't know. There's surely got to be a bit of an understanding there, surely. No offense, but you are a Wolves. No offense. No offense. No offense. For me, we have one issue only, and it's the lack of athleticism, says Chi. Yes, absolutely. Lack of athleticism, which is compounded by the lack of duel winners, the lack of second ball winners. Right, I've got a pet peeve, guys. I've got a pet peeve. Okay? Here it is. And Ruben Diaz is maybe, and I love Ruben Diaz, but he's maybe the biggest offender of this. And Stones did it a lot today, and this is why I love Gavardio, because he never does this. It is the blind headed clearance. It is when the ball, there's so much time, so that you're not really under any danger. So you're not actually challenging for the ball. Like, it's not an aerial duel. The ball's just coming to you aerially. And there is so much time for you to head it, to look around and head it to a teammate, or what Gavardio does, bring it down on the chest usually, and then control it, put it into touch, and then it's all done. What City do, especially, again, what Diaz does all the time, is he just does a blind-headed clearance back into the mixer, which is fine if you've got Rodri in the midfield who can win that aerial second ball, whatever. And I think it was like, that's how the first goal was scored, like moments before the sequence of events which led to Wolves scoring the goal. Diaz just blindly hoofs it into the air when he had so much time on it, you could head it back, like a deft little touch back to Stones or whatever. But instead, puts it back into the mixer. We're obviously not going to win it in the mixer because we've established we don't have any second ball winners and dual winners. And then the other team just get possession of the ball, and then they can counterattack on us. It's just a really sloppy way to lose possession. Am I the only one who's really, really annoyed at that? It happens all the time. With Ruben Diaz in particular. Stones used to be very good at not doing it. Today, he was very bad at doing it. Gvardiol is very good in that respect. He hardly ever blindly clears it. He's always interested in trying to control it and play it back to the keeper or play it back to another centre-back partner. Diaz is the biggest offender of it, and I love Ruben Diaz, but watch City's defenders next time and see how often they do that. It really annoys me. It really annoys me. Let me know if that's just me, or let me know if it also annoys you. City was lucky. This goal could have ruled out by some dumbass ref, but still it was all luck. A win's a win. Have to do better, says Justin. We do have to do better, absolutely. I can't believe that people were online on Twitter trying to talk about that goal not being legitimate. Does anyone here truly think that there's any world in which that goal should be ruled out? I mean, obviously the answer's no. In the first instance, you objectively cannot be offside from a corner. So people going, oh, Bernardo's touching Sarr when the ball's coming in. Right, well, that's irrelevant because you can't be offside. So there's no foul there. So this point of interference at that stage is irrelevant. The only point of relevance is when the contact is made by John Stones. Now, from what I could see, is that Bernardo was actively ducking and trying to get out of the way. He wasn't making himself big or getting in the way of the goalkeeper. He was literally doing the opposite of that. So I've no idea how some people have taken that as, oh yeah, the goal should be ruled out. Unreal. Does anyone have any explanation as to why these people think this? I'm so perplexed. Because it wasn't even arguable. It wasn't even like, it's 50-50, it's close. It's like, nah. It's just a thing. Again, if the player's literally trying to get out of their way, I don't understand. Saliba is the opposite Thunder Road. This is my favourite Saliba quality. Saliba is a player who, when the ball comes in, his first thought is to try to control it and retain the ball. I don't know why, but even John Stones has been doing it of late. And if they didn't have time on the ball, I'd understand it. But they do. They're never surrounded by an opposition player. It's just really annoying because you forfeit possession so sloppily, and you can do that. I'll repeat, if you've got some good dual winners in the midfield, like a Rodri, who will win those second balls, then maybe it doesn't become as much of an issue. But if you're asking Kovacic, Gundogan, Bernardo Silva to win it in the air, you're asking for trouble, and it's never going to work. Yeah, nothing wrong, says the Formidable. Sar had a clear line of sight. Yeah, definitely. Copium by other supporters. Absolutely. I've no idea that was a thing. I have no idea why it was even being argued against. Brian asks why we're not playing Stones as the DM. Well, he's not a true midfielder, so I don't want him to play out of possession midfield, but I do like the idea of him pushing up alongside whoever our 6 is in possession. But Pep seems obsessed. He's clearly locked in on this 3-1-6, hasn't he? There's not really been any deviation from that basically the entirety of this season. That's pretty much been the golden formation so far this season. And it's asking for trouble, even if you have Rodri in the centre. Never mind if you don't have him in the centre. He just seems dead set on it. I would personally not do that. I would like to see Stones pushed up more because that does give us that physicality. Dual winning, second ball winning, aerial work as well. Desperately if Foden or KDB in the half spaces. No idea. Again, I repeat, no idea why he didn't start. Still don't really know why Grealish didn't start. We looked so much better when they both came on the pitch. I think Foden was the only one in that entire game who actually tried to play a ball over the top to Haaland and ultimately led to the corner sequence, which got us the goal. How much for Van der Ven? Imagine having him alongside Cavallo Diaz and Kanji. That would be lovely, wouldn't it? I do like Van der Ven a lot. Do you know the reason why Savio and Doku switched sides? So my only thought is that if you've got a left footer on the left and a right footer on the right, in terms of our wingers, it means that there's obviously going to be more of a focus on just cross it, essentially. And that did work from a Savio perspective. I thought Savio put in some very decent left-footed crosses in that second half. So Pep was clearly thinking, it was almost like a total commitment to the wings, wasn't it? It was like, right, just cross the ball in for Haaland and see what happens. Maybe we'll win a second ball, or maybe Haaland just wins it outright. I think that was probably the idea. So less of an emphasis on trying to beat your man and cut in, more of an emphasis on take your man down the byline and cross it in. That would be my suggestion. We've talked about Gundogan Lord. I think that what needs to happen is he just needs to be played deeper. That's what needs to happen. That's what we need to see. Pep doesn't show his cards at the start of the season. True. Hello, Archie. Nice profile picture. This definitely isn't sustainable. Yeah, and that's what we were talking about earlier. How is it sustainable to, first of all, concede every single game, basically, and then to have to rely on screamers from your left back, who's actually a centre back with his weak foot? It's not really. You need to be able to create sustainable chances, and we're not going to do. We certainly can't do that centrally if we don't play Foden or if we don't play De Bruyne, and we obviously can't play De Bruyne because he's injured right now. So for me, Foden has to start. Oh, it's Kazoo. Excellent. Can you change your name back to Kazoo then, please, for my own brain? Thank you, mate. Foden not starting, decreasing his confidence. Again, I thought he played well when he came on, in fairness, so I'm absolutely fine with that. We have got 115 likes, by the way, guys, which is absolutely wonderful. Can we get up to 150, though? We do have over 200 people watching, which is wonderful stuff. But if we could please get to 150 likes, that would be great. Holland will ghost against Liverpool and mark him out of the game. And that's fine, because he'll then be taking out probably 2 defenders, in which case the question becomes which of our other players will step up. Now, when do we actually play Liverpool? When do we play them? We don't play them for a minute. Okay, wow. Okay, when do we play them? The 1st of December, a Sunday. So you'd like to think that... I mean, Oscar Bob might be back for that, mightn't he? Isn't he getting back into training next month? Might be too early for him, but that would be fun as well. You'd like to think De Bruyne would be available by then, so hopefully we'll be in a better state in terms of the injuries of our squad. That would be great. Yeah, I agree. I do agree, Sherald. And in fairness, you know, today we did have 2 players who weren't Haaland score. It is at Anfield, Jay. So that is a thing, you know. In terms of like an aerial presence, John Stones has demonstrated time and time again that he is a massive aerial threat. Even Nathan Ake as well, despite his height, is a big aerial threat. With Ake, I just don't I don't think Ake gets into the team because realistically, it's Ake or Gvardiol. Because Diaz is going to start. You probably want to give Diaz left centre-back because that's his preferred position. So I think that really Ake is not really going to be a first teamer this season in terms of starting the majority of the games. I think it will be Gvardiol more so because he's just brilliant, isn't he? And Wiz says Gvardiol is a joke. Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, Kazooie. Oh, thank you for changing your name. Yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea why people... Oh, no, we do know why people are doing that. It's because they're little weirdos, aren't they? They are little weirdos. Right, you're now moderator, Kazoo. Good work. That's what you get for always being on the Twitch streams. That's my boy. Yeah, it is at Anfield. General Stones. Yeah, we've said it many times, haven't we? So apologies that I'm repeating myself. But this had to be a really... And has to be, sorry. This has to be a really good season for Stones. In the same way, it has to be a really good season for Grealish. Because when are their contracts up? I think one has 1 year, the other has 2 years. Let's double check. Double check. Grealish's contract expires... Oh, never mind. 2027. Okay, so it's a bit more time. Is it Stones that expires in 1 year? Or have I actually just invented that? Stones. Transfer marked. When was John's last extension? 2026. Right. Yeah, so Stones' contract expires not at the end of this season, the end of the season after. Now, does anyone think that City are going to let him go on a free? Almost definitely not. They'd want to get some resale from him. He's not old, he's 30. So for a centre-back, he's still got a fair few years there. So it feels like to me this summer, or before this summer, he's either going to get offered an extension, or they're going to try to move him on. Now, I would love it if he was offered an extension, but he can only be offered an extension if he performs well enough and if he's actually available and fit. So that's why I say this is a massive season for him. He's got to perform well to earn that extension. And so far, I know he was a bit shaky. Well, no, he was very shaky against Brentford, but I think that after that shaky start, I think he's actually been playing quite well. I thought he was decent today, for example. I know he obviously got the winning goal, scored the equaliser against Arsenal as well, being in the right place at the right time. So I'm really happy for him because I do love John Stones a lot, and I still really think that there's something in going back to a 3-2 build with Stones accompanying one of Gundogan or Kovacic. I really do think that is something that we should be looking to do. That's really something we should be looking to sort out. When we discuss Haaland, I think it was very poor. Yes, the thing with Haaland is, I mean, first of all, it never helps when you're not really given the ball that much. It was only Savio and Foden were the ones giving him the ball. There was one moment where Gundogan just had it. It was in the second half. I have no idea why Gundogan just didn't play him in. No idea why he didn't do it, but he just didn't go for it. Foden, when he came on, was trying, obviously succeeded. Savio was trying and succeeded a number of times. But outside of that, he was starved, wasn't he? If you don't have one of De Bruyne or Foden on the pitch, then he is going to be starved, to be fair. You need one of them on the pitch. There is that. But at the same time, when you do get the ball, you do need to be better. So I do have some sympathy for him. But there were some moments today where like a pass was just... There was no need to play that pass out for a throw-in. First touches were poor. There was a moment where I think Doku crossed it in that... Was it in the second half? Doku crossed it in. Took a deflection. Haaland's a wild swing, just misses it. And it's not the easiest chance because he's got to react quickly, takes a deflection off an opposition body. But those chances, when they do arrive, you've got to do a little bit better with them, haven't you? So I do agree it wasn't really a particularly good game from him today. I thought he was not good. Again, I know that mitigating circumstances didn't get the ball that much. Good hold up for that Foden pass, in fairness. He played in Nunes, who then had the shot, which led to the corners, as we discussed. But apart from that, he was pretty lackluster. I do agree with that. I do agree with that. But you've got to account for the mitigating fact that until Foden came on, or certainly no midfielder was able to find him, and Savio was the only other player seemingly able to find him as well. Wingers should score more. Savio is so close. Savio is getting there. He was really unfortunate to not get a goal today. Sarr with a really nice stop. Savio will get... Those goals will come for Savio. I'm very convinced of that. But he's not on his right foot. Seriously not on his right foot. Because it's borderline non-existent at times. Must give Bob time. Absolutely, Roy. I've got to be patient. I've got faith in him, though. I do have faith. Bernardo is a troll at 3 foot. Duck's a 6-foot keeper. Do the math. Not interfering. Yeah, Chris, I can't believe that was even a question. Absolutely ridiculous. 100 mil for Big John. Then the build-up was frustratingly slow as well, says Kazoo. Yeah, it always is going to be with that selection. It always is going to be. Which is why we need... those midfielders, in my view. With Pep new tactics without Rodri, he just seems really confused, says Extreme. Indeed. Without De Bruyne, no one ever plays over the top through balls for Holland to run onto. Well, Foden did. In fairness, it happened once in the game. Happened once in the game. It was a lovely long ball as well, to be fair. It was very similar to, almost identical to the ball he did against Wolves in the game last season, which Haaland actually scored from, if memory serves. So that was nice. Will there ever be a time we don't make bang average keepers look 10 times better? Yeah, because he's been bad this season so far, hasn't he, Sir? I'm pretty sure that he's had a poor day. He's had a poor season so far in terms of his post-shot XG, less expected goals tally. I think he normally has it very high. He's been bad this season, so of course he plays well when we come to town. Absolutely. People will get frustrated with Savio's finishing with time will come. Yeah, absolutely. Got to be patient with Savio. Definitely. So that is the state of play. Pep's run out of ideas, says Lord. I think it's too early to... Never count Pep Guardiola out, guys. Never count him out, because so far he's illustrated that he can make things work. Obviously, he has done the past few seasons, of course. So never count him out, yeah. Any other players that I really wanted to focus in on today? So we've discussed, I mean, Gvardio's just mad, isn't he? He's so good. He was probably the man of the match, wasn't he? I guess you could give it to Sarr if you want, but I'd probably give it to Joshko just because he was wonderful. Ederson, again, I feel like, myself included, he's not really getting as much props as he should be for the 1v1s, that he's saving. It's been very impressive. He saved us against Fulham. He saved us today. He's done it a number of times this season, as he did last season. So, shout out to Ederson, because again, it really should have been 2-0. Like, Semedo should have made it 2-0. And Ederson kept us in that game, and we ultimately won it. So, big shout out to Ederson, as I say. Rico Lewis, we've touched on. I think at right back, we've got to stop it for now. We've got to stop it until we learn how to be good defensively. Get a Kanji in at right back for me. Have 4 centre back, FC back. Just even if it's only for a few games. You can play Rico Lewis in the centre, though. That's what I would personally like to have happen. And Kovacic Gundo we've touched on. I'm very surprised that Gundogan lasted the whole 90 minutes. And I just don't... There's no world in which he should be our... There's no world in which he should be our midfield creator. There's no world in which that should be the case. If De Bruyne isn't available, then the only other option is Foden. That's got to be the reality of the situation. That's got to be it. There's no other one in midfield who even comes close to it. So, and no one comes close to De Bruyne. So that's the only one which is even slightly real. Optimal is not even the word. Can mitigate to an extent, I guess. What about Kovac? I think he was slightly better than Gundo, says Letty. Again, it's really hard for me to judge Gundogan because he's not being played in the position where I feel like he should be being played. He should be far deeper on the pitch. He should be that metronome player. If at all, that should be the thing. And yet it's the thing. And yet it's the thing. Phone's poor. Yeah, that assist was crap. I totally agree. Edison's doing very good. Yeah, 100%. Gavarnia could post a picture wearing a Nata shirt and I still adore that man just as much. I love Yoshko so much. He's ridiculous. Again, this is the best left back in the world that we are talking about, lads. That's not reactive. That's just reality. That's reality. It's also probably because the left backs right now in world football aren't pretty. It's pretty lackluster in terms of the left backs. You know, Gvardiol isn't even a left back. That's the world that we're living in right now. But you can only deal with what you've got, and what we've got is that the Gvardiol is the best one there. So that's a thing. Clearly not as a creator, Hamad. That's what the last few games have told us. Anything else? Docker got the assist in definition only. He technically got the assist there. Fair play. And then Grealish and Nunes we have also discussed. You seem to be the one on the Foden campaign because you said he was crap and yet he got the assist. So you need to hold that, mate. You need to hold that and sort your life out. Cover seems tired, says Roy. He's being asked to do an impossible job, Roy. I will be real. He's being asked to do an impossible job in terms of locking down that midfield. He just can't do it. It's not his fault. No one can do it. No one could do it. Not even Rodri could do it. I think there's a fundamental flaw with this system. I don't like it. I don't like it. I know it worked at the start of the season, but I still don't like it. I still think there are massive rest defense issues. Massive rest defense issues. Yeah, not creative thoughts. Why are you going to assist? Yeah, it's crazy. Really intelligent conversation here. I'm going to stop now because it's boring. Edison been a hologram once again. The guys to step up the shot stopping ability. Yeah, Sherwood, crazy. How did Nunes look? So we talked about it, Christian. Nunes looked decent when he came on, only for 10 minutes, but it was a good 10 minutes. Yeah, I need to start falling for this bait. I'll be real. I'm sorry, guys. I'll try to better myself as a fish. Yeah, I'm like a fish right now, gobbling up on this bait. Madness. I doubt he's in the... Sorry, who's that, Brie? I love Dad. Who's that? Let me know. Let me know. Who are you talking about there? Theo better. I've never really got the Theo Hernandez hype. Apart from that time when I wanted him because I was desperate. But apart from that. Nunes' recovery pace won us the game, yet Pep is reluctant to blame. Well, Lord, we shall see. We shall see what happens in the next couple of games. Is there anything else in particular that we'd like to discuss, guys, from that game? Or indeed, generally, you know, Arsenal dropped points yesterday. Madness. I haven't yet caught up on the game. TLDR, guys. What happened? I saw that Saliba got sent off. Naughty, naughty. What happened there? Let me know. I mean, I've seen the moment of him getting sent off. It's quite funny. I don't know what Trossard's doing in the first instance. And then Saliba, so Trossard obviously makes the first error, but Saliba does not have to bring him down. There are so many alternatives to not bringing him down there. Really unusual, but that does mean in terms of the table, Arsenal, and have now lost it. We are the only, that makes the only unbeaten team in the league. That's only one match, I'm afraid, Letty, because it's not dangerous play, so it is only one match, I'm afraid. Crazy. We're the only unbeaten side. Hopefully, we can only get better from here, you'd like to think. Is City pull back? I'm going to stick to my guns as I did last season. And throughout a lot of that, and I said last season, my top three, my first, second, third, I said it was going to be City, Arsenal, Liverpool. And so many times, like Tom Little in particular, and Judge Mo kept trying to make me change my top three, and I wasn't having it. I was like, no, I'm sticking to my guns. I'm sticking to my guns. I still think it's going to be Arsenal finishing ahead of Liverpool this season. I'm sticking with that. I'm sticking with that. He does miss Liverpool, yes, which is massive, because is that at Anfield? No, it's not. It's at the Emirates. Ooh. Ooh. I guess a draw is probably technically the best result from a City perspective, is it? Technically, because it means they both drop points. It means if we won our game, we'd go top of the table. They both drop 2 points. That's probably the best result, because it means there's 4 points dropped rather than 3. So from a net perspective, we probably want a draw, don't we? Let me know what you guys think, though. Do you want a Liverpool win or an Arsenal win? I think a draw is probably best, but let me know what you think. There is no coincidence, or rather, there's no conspiracy here. There's no conspiracy. And I'm sorry, whatever you think about the Rice sending off, whether you think it's stupid, right? It's happened. You got sent off because you kicked away the ball, right? So don't do it again. So why do they do it against City? It's really weird. It's only Saliba's fault that he brings him down. There is no conspiracy going on here. It's your own fault. Very odd. Just stop. It's, guys, controversial take. High key analysis here. Football is a much easier sport to play if you have 11 men on the pitch. Who'd have thunk it? Who'd have thunk it? To keep 11 men on the pitch, you got a pretty good chance. How many red cards did they get last season, if any? It's madness. It is madness. Taylor, I think that I do love Lewis, but with now that Rodri's out, I think the paradigm has shifted. I think that Lewis just needs to either be in midfield outright for a bit, or and just don't play him at right back for a bit. That'd be what I think. Yeah, Walker's not the same, is he? Absolutely. Yeah, you guys all want to draw. Draw, por favor. But the same top three this season, Poole and Arscat might be close, or they switch positions. Chelsea finish fourth. Yeah, you know what? Chelsea have actually really impressed me, in fairness. I think they are probably going to finish fourth. I know they're currently sixth, but they've been very impressive in general. I actually thought they may have been the better team today, to be fair. I'm being fair, and I think I am. Chelsea, you could argue, are the better team. Yeah, mad ultimate. Who'd have thunk it? Yeah. I did, Matty. Yeah, I was able to catch the majority of it. I thought Chelsea were the better team, in fairness. Who knows? Maybe I'll do an analysis video on it. Who knows? 3 red, 7-point dropped in those 3 games for Arsenal. Yeah. Again, funnily enough, it's harder to win a game if you don't have every man on the pitch. It is their first defeat. It is funny the amount of like tweets where they were saying, well, some Arsenal fans were saying, I reckon, yeah, we're going to go invincible this season. Lads, never predict to go invincible. Also a weird mentality. Don't try to say we're going to go invincible. Try to say we're going to win more games than everyone else, because not losing isn't as good as winning. Because scoring goals will always be more valuable in football than not conceding them, as long as a win equals 3 points. It's a different argument in the days when a win was only 2 points, because then a draw and a loss is the same as a win and a draw then is the same as a draw and a draw. So it's a bit of a different situation back then, but now a win is far more valuable. And how do you win? You score goals. If you don't score goals, you can't win games. It's very basic. That's why winning is always more valuable than not losing. Scoring goals is always more important than defense. Every single time. In the Premier League anyway. That's what history tells us. You score the most goals in the Premier League, you are statistically more likely to win the league than the team which conceded the fewest. That is what the data tells us. I saw there was like a chant. I saw there was genuinely a chant about City. I have no idea why we're being brought up. It's like, guys, we're not even playing today. I was at a wedding. Leave me alone. Yeah, I thought Chelsea were the better team, to be honest, mate. Just about. Liverpool lucky it wasn't at Stamford Bridge. I'm sorry, but City got very lucky that we played them at Stamford Bridge first game of the season. Because Chelsea are clearly going to be a good team this year. So the fact we got in early and were able to beat them when they hadn't quite settled, perfect. Yeah, Chelsea unlucky, says Lord, I agree. There is Miami, and they are still a young team, and this is what, they're not going to come close to challenging this season. They need a new goalkeeper. They probably need at least one more defender, and they probably need another wide player, I'd say. Maybe. I don't really know what Sancho was doing today, for example. Just seemed to be slowing the game down too much. But there's definitely a very good template there for a team. There's a good idea for a team there. Maresca's doing a very good job, in fairness to him. In fairness. Does anyone seriously go into a season wants to be invincible above everything else? That's what I mean. I've never thought about it like that. I don't care about going invincible. I want the most points. It would be a nice bonus, but I would rather have, you know, the record for the most wins than the fewest losses, obviously. Like, because as we've established, winning's better than not losing. Objectively. That's not even you can't even argue against that. Unless you're weird, winning gets you 3 points. Not losing doesn't necessarily get you 3 points. We should be starting 4 centre-half backs and giving Nunes a chance in midfield, says Isaac. I think that's what I would like to see as well. At least a chance anyway. A war of attrition. As long as we don't drop too many points, we should come out on top by virtue of the others eating each other up. Well, again, I feel like we've been saying it for the past few years now, but City just keep giving their opponents chance after chance after chance to win the league. And every single time, Arsenal and Liverpool haven't taken it. Will this be the year where they actually end up doing it again? And once again, we won today, but we're clearly not at the level that we know that this team should be at. And whether that's due to weird selections, whether that's due to Rodri injuries, or odd transfer decisions, whatever, that's the reality of the situation. Yeah, Neto on the left would be really good. I totally agree in Miami. I totally agree. I think they should have just started him there. Throw him in even if he's injured. Brilliant. I mean, as I say, Foden did it literally today. And Savio can also do it. Savio was good at that from the wings. Get Savio and Foden starting, I think that you'll see a much healthier team. If I see Grealish and Foden and Savio all in the same team, it will be a lovely time had by all. It'll be a lovely time had by all. Have we seen that once this season in the Premier League? Them all starting? I don't think we have we? Who started against Fulham? I don't think Savio started, did he? So we haven't even seen those three start together, which is crazy to me. It's crazy to me. Barca insane. They are cooking. Big up to the Barca. Yeah, exactly, Jack. It's like, the Centurion year. I didn't really think about that until it was within reach. You don't think going into the season, oh yeah, let's get 100 points. It's only when like the league's wrapped up and you're like, oh, we might be able to get 100 points here, and then it's fun and interesting. I think it was just before the Huddersfield game that season when I started to be like, oh my god, we could get 100 points here. That'd be the thing. He started against Fulham, didn't he, Miami? He started against Fulham. I think that's the only one, though. I think that's the only... But Savio didn't start that day. Bernardo did, out on the right, and I was very confused. This is the funny thing, though. And we've going on off in a slight tangent here. There are examples where a team... In Europe, by the way, in a European league, a team has gone invincible in the league... and they haven't won the league. It's happened in Portugal a couple of times, for example. I don't think it's happened in any of the top 5 European leagues, but it has happened within the wider European context. I think the biggest league where that has happened is the Portuguese league, I'm pretty sure. And they didn't win the league. They came second without losing a game. That's nice. But they didn't win the league, so they had nothing to show for it. And it's very unlikely you get relegated by going invincible, but it's a good point. Going invincible is an irrelevant achievement on its own. It's only relevant if you also win the league. And then it's like a cherry on top sort of thing. It's like a nice bonus. But in of itself, it's like... Right? It's like the 18-19 season. City lost more games than Liverpool that year. But we won more games. So we won the league. So it's like... The league's not... always decided by the team who loses the fewest games, but it's always been decided by the team who wins the most every single time without fail. The team which has won the league has won the most games, and we all know why. Because if he kept the same lineup in the first half without swapping wings, it might have been all right, as we weren't that bad. I think it was just after more crosses, wasn't he? It was after more crosses. To Haaland, I guess. And again, Savio. I feel like Savio was technically our most creative player. I don't know the exact data on it, but I feel like he probably was. I feel like he did quite a bit. Indeed, Mars, indeed. But we bloody stopped them, yeah? Big up John Stones. That's my boy. My boy! Bayer Leverkusen never won the Bundesliga, and the first time they did it last year, yeah, that was crazy as well. That was crazy. IDK, I don't really know, to be honest. We theorized maybe it's because he wanted total control in the midfield, but clearly that didn't really work. Exactly, Douglas. Exactly. 100%. Lads, thank you so much for joining me today. Is there anything else that we would like to discuss? We did get over 150 likes, which is what I was after. Thank you so much, guys, for your support, as always. Is there anything else that we want to touch on? Because we have just a bit conscious. We have been live for over an hour, so do let me know if there's anything else you want us to have a chat about. Get any comments or thoughts in the chat. Just having a look at the team just to see if I can think of anything else to contemplate. Well, Carlos Borges that came on, I got very confused because his name isn't Carlos Borges anymore. It's Carlos Forbes. And I was like, I know that face. That's Carlos Borges. You played for City's academy, I'm sure. But it's got the wrong name. I googled him. It is the same person, so I don't know why they've changed names. But he came on. He was trying to cause annoyance for City. So that annoyed me. Ex-academy player. Stop it. Same with Tommy Doyle. Stop playing good against us. It's very upsetting. It's very upsetting. Entering a patch of games, I should allow us to pick up points. Well, let's quickly have a look at the fixtures, shall we? Let's quickly have a look. So. Fairs, Jack. It's both. Either or fairs. Yeah, so. We have Sparta Prague at home in the Champions League. That should be an easy victory. Southampton at home in the Premier League. That should be an easy victory. League Cup away against Spurs. I'm going to be honest, lads. I think that we lose that game. Not intentionally, but I think that Pep starts not a second string team. But I wouldn't be surprised, for example, if McAtee started. Or Lewis in the midfield. You know, Kyle Walker starting at right back. Rico Lewis in the midfield. Maybe Nunes as well, as we touched on earlier. I was going to say Haaland maybe given a rest, but I don't know if that would... I don't know if he'd sack it off that much. Probably not. But I think he won't go full strength, is what I'm saying. If De Bruyne is fit, I don't think De Bruyne starts that game, unless he needs to get the fitness back into his body. So I think we lose that game. But it's almost like a... whatever sort of thing. Especially because the next game after that is only a couple of days later, and it's against Bournemouth, and it's away. And Bournemouth should have beaten us last season, if you guys remember that. We got very lucky against Bournemouth. Very, very lucky. They battered us in that second half. Absolutely battered us. And we just got away with it. So that's going to be a really hard game. After that, we play Sporting in the Champions League. Oh, Amorim. Amorim watch in case that he becomes a City manager. Brighton away. That's hard. And then Spurs at home, also hard. So there's some actually genuinely tricky games. And then, oh my gosh, Spurs at home, and then Feyenoord in the Champions League, and Anfield. Oh, and then Forest, who've taken points off Liverpool and Chelsea. Palace away. Oh, God, there are some tricky fixtures coming up. They play Manchester Derby, Juventus, Aston Villa away. Oh, God. So there are a couple of nice fixtures coming up. But then after that Spurs game in the League Cup, there's some tricky ones. As I say, Bournemouth away, Brighton away, Spurs at home, Anfield in the league, with a couple of easy Champions League games thrown in between. That's upsetting and that's unfortunate. But we've got a couple of nice games to get things kicking off. To get things kicking off. I think fans, even coaches, don't grasp a draw is close to a loss. That's a good, I'd never thought about like Steve. That's a very good point. Very good point. Absolutely, Red Camp, 100%. We need to buy a DM this winter at Red Camp. I agree with you. I don't need convincing now. I personally prefer Savino Savio off that right as well. Southampton on a club record winless Prem run, by the way. We love to see that. We love to see that. Indeed, no, Thunder Road absolutely is doing a lot of the heavy lifting in that sentence. You're absolutely right. I need to get a new chair, by the way. This chair's actually caused me back issues. The pain. It's also too big. You guys can't see my sick lights behind me. Bournemouth did better against 10 men Arsenal than we did. Exactly. Yeah, Foden scored that day. And yeah, in that second half, it was just embarrassing, man, at times. The substitutions by Pep that day were so shit. They were so fucking shit. That was when we had no control of the game and he brought on Doku for Grealish, right? What are you doing? What are you doing, man? Or he brought off, I think he brought off Kovacic and brought on De Bruyne. It was mental that day. The consensus today was IDK that we won, so we are happy, but we are currently relying on moments and individual brilliance. And without Foden or De Bruyne in the team, there is zero creation centrally. And that is the state of play, essentially. And also, Grealish must be starting every single game where we think it's tricky. And maybe Núñez should be starting as well. What's the best team you could pick just from City's academy players, irrespective of where they play? I mean, you could have a monster of a team, I'm sure. I don't have the exact list off the top of my head, but, you know, you're talking, obviously, Palmer, you know Foden, Bob, Delap. There's loads. There's loads of our lads out there running amok and doing Lavia. Loads doing really good for themselves. And fair play. I'm very happy for them, of course. I think so, yeah, if memory serves. I think Foden set him up a couple of times and he missed. That happened a lot last season where Foden set up Haaland a lot and it was he just missed every single time. It was really frustrating. Love that from you, Douglas. And shout out to you, Douglas, as well, because you are one of my beautiful members. So shout out to you. If you are able to do, guys, and would like to become a member, would like to support the channel, first of all, you can do it for free by clicking like. But if you are able to, click the join button. There's also a link in the video description, so you can do what Douglas has done. You get many lovely perks like emojis, loyalty badge, and your name up in gold, and also your name in the credits of all my YouTube videos. So it's a lovely time had by all. You come to terms with sign potential. We need to, Imran. I think I've established that we need to. Or at least someone of that ilk. Yeah, the Newcastle draw was really frustrating. Crush is bigger than the actual chair. That is still... This is from my Balotelli shirt when it was Euro 2021. It's stuck to the shirt. It's still there. And it's been... If you can see, it's been scratched the fuck by my cat as well. I need a new chair. Take care, Matty. Thank you for joining me, matey. Ideal De Bruyne replacement? I have no idea, Sherald. No idea. I have no idea. I'd probably rather Zubimendi, based on what I've heard of them, Isaac. Oh, we talked about Haaland. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Give up dangerous lacking. Yes, indeed. Right, guys. We're going to end it there, I think. Just because we've been going for a long time and I want you guys to enjoy the rest of your evening away from me. If you're new, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to like the video. We will be back. Hopefully, I'll be back on LB's channel tomorrow for an LBins. There will be a Knobcast on Tuesday. So, Gasky will be returning. Hopefully, you guys have been enjoying the Knobcast. If you haven't watched us yet, please give us a chance. It's 12 o'clock on Tuesdays. The last week, we had a brilliant Chelsea fan on. The week before that, we had Tom Little. Connor, a brilliant Chelsea fan. A brilliant Tom Little, Liverpool fan. Gasky's my regular Man United guest, who as I say, will be... not guest, co-host, who will be returning on Tuesday at 12. I'll try to put out an analysis video on the YouTube this week as well. Hopefully that will be a thing. Kazoo or Jack, if you could, or anyone, if you could please do !Twitch in the chat as well. Come over to the Twitch as well, guys, because it's really fun over there. We've started to do a WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 General Manager mode, where it's me versus the chat. It's really, really fun. We like commentate over the games. We get lost in the storylines. It is really, I promise you, it is really, really fun. So please make sure to come over, because it's like gaming stuff over on the Twitch mainly. Bonus content, bonus Nobbins. So if you like Nobbins, if you like me, don't worry. I don't know why I referred to myself in the third person there. Come over to the Twitch. It is hopefully the link will be coming through the Nobbot. There we go, guys. Excellent work. Thank you, Kazoo. It is the exact same username as my YouTube. That is the Nobbot. I love the fact that we've got the Nobbot. Look at that logo. That is sick. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you all in the next one. Turn the bell on. Click your bells, lads. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.